In the early 1960s, Ferrari was untouchable. Its sleek machines dominated racetracks and captured imaginations. But out of a bitter feud, an unlikely challenger emerged. A car so strange, so defiant, that people laughed when they first saw it. This was the Ferrari 250 GT Breadvan, a one-off creation born from rebellion. Backed by Count Giovanni Volpi and engineered by Giotto Bizzarrini, a genius cast out of Ferrari, the Breadvan was designed not for beauty, but for revenge. Its boxy, van-like shape looked ridiculous, yet its aerodynamics gave it a shocking edge over Ferrari's prized 250 GTOs. At Le Mans in 1962, it stunned crowds, proving it could outrun the very cars it was built to spite. But glory faded, and the Breadvan disappeared into obscurity, until decades later, when it was rediscovered and restored to its legendary form. Today, it's more than a quirky Ferrari. It's a living symbol of defiance, passion, and the idea that legends are often forged in rebellion. In the world of Ferrari, elegance and perfection were the rules, until one car dared to break them. Born out of rivalry, rebellion, and sheer engineering brilliance, the Ferrari 250 GT Breadvan wasn't just another race car, it was a statement. Its boxy shape looked nothing like the sleek machines Enzo Ferrari proudly sent to the track, yet it carried the heart of a legend under its skin. This wasn't a car created for beauty, it was designed to humiliate Ferrari on its own stage. From whispered feuds inside Maranello's walls to a dramatic showdown at Le Mans, the Breadvan became more than a one-off oddity, it became a myth. But what happened after the crowd stopped cheering? How does a forgotten machine transform into one of the most cherished, lost and found treasures in car history? Today we begin the story of the Ferrari Breadvan, the outlaw that refused to fade away. At the heart of the Breadvan's creation stood Count Giovanni Volpi di Misurata, a young Venetian aristocrat with money, ambition, and a love for racing. Volpi's team, Scuderia Serenissima, was once closely tied to Ferrari, but after Enzo Ferrari clashed with his own engineers in the infamous Palace Revolt, loyalties shifted. Volpi, daring and determined, backed the exiled engineers when others turned away. But Enzo didn't forgive so easily. When the Count tried to buy the latest Ferrari 250 GTOs, Ferrari personally blocked the sale, leaving Volpi without the weapon he needed for Le Mans. Instead of admitting defeat, the Count did something bold. He decided to out-Ferrari Ferrari. With his wealth and the talents of ex-Ferrari men like Giotto Bizzarrini, he funded the creation of a one-off machine, a car designed to embarrass Enzo on the world's biggest racing stage. This decision set in motion the birth of the Breadvan. Giotto Bizzarrini was no ordinary engineer. He was one of the brightest minds Ferrari ever had. But after the infamous Palace Revolt, he found himself cast out, carrying both genius and a grudge. When Count Volpi approached him, Bizzarrini saw more than just another project. He saw a chance for revenge. His goal was simple yet audacious: build a machine faster and more advanced than Ferrari's prized 250 GTO. To do that, he stripped down a Ferrari 250 GT SWB and began reshaping it into something radical. He pushed the engine farther back for better balance, tweaked the suspension for sharper handling, and reimagined the aerodynamics completely. The result looked nothing like a Ferrari. It was boxy, abrupt, almost ugly. Critics scoffed, but Bizzarrini smiled. To him, beauty didn't win races. Science did. The Breadvan was his rebellion in metal and speed, a rolling challenge aimed squarely at Enzo Ferrari himself. When the Breadvan first appeared, many laughed. Its stretched roofline and flat rear looked more like a delivery van than a Ferrari meant for glory. But every angle had a purpose. Inspired by cutting-edge aerodynamics, Bizzarrini designed the car using principles of camback theory, which argued that chopping the rear of a car could actually reduce drag and boost speed. The elongated roof allowed smoother airflow, while the abrupt rear cut minimized turbulence. Underneath, the lightweight body shaved precious kilos off its weight, giving it an edge over the heavier 250 GTO. What seemed ridiculous was actually revolutionary. On the track, that ugly duckling shape sliced through the air with surprising efficiency, shocking skeptics who had mocked it. The Breadvan proved that design wasn't always about beauty. It was about breaking barriers. Its shape, though strange, became its secret weapon. June 1962. The stage was the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and all eyes were on Ferrari's new 250 GTOs. But then came the Breadvan, rolling onto the grid like an uninvited guest daring to crash the party. Crowds whispered, some laughed. But when the race began, the odd-looking machine stunned everyone. On the straights, it flew, its aerodynamic body letting it outrun even the factory GTOs. Drivers and fans alike couldn't believe this van was holding its own against Enzo's prize creations. For a moment, it looked as though Count Volpi's gamble and Bizzarrini's genius had succeeded in humiliating Ferrari on its biggest stage. But racing is never just about speed, it's about endurance. After hours of glory, mechanical trouble struck, forcing the Breadvan to retire early. Still, its short-lived battle at Le Mans etched it forever into racing legend, proving it was no joke, it was a threat. Though its Le Mans debut ended in heartbreak, the Breadvan's story on the track didn't stop there. After repairs, it returned to smaller European races, eager to prove it was more than a curiosity. And it did, often running faster than Ferrari's own works cars. The Breadvan scored podium finishes and astonished crowds with its mix of speed and resilience. Yet being a one-off also meant constant challenges. Spare parts were scarce, mechanical reliability was fragile, and the shadow of Ferrari's dominance loomed large. Still, every time it lined up, the Breadvan carried a sense of rebellion, a David facing Goliath. Fans began to admire its audacity and drivers respected its raw pace. Even if it never collected a trophy case full of victories, the Breadvan built something far more lasting, a reputation as the car that dared to defy Ferrari and, at times, nearly won. As the 1960s wore on, the Breadvan's racing days faded. Newer, faster machines pushed it out of the spotlight, and without factory backing, its career was destined to be short. After its final races, the once feared rebel slipped quietly into obscurity. No longer the headline grabber at Le Mans, it became just another old racing car stored away, far from the roaring crowds that once gasped at its speed. Collectors and enthusiasts who knew its story still whispered about it. But to the wider world, the Breadvan seemed forgotten. Its odd shape, once mocked and then respected, now gathered dust. For decades, it drifted through private hands, largely unseen, a fallen warrior hidden from public eyes. Yet legends like this never truly die. The Breadvan's disappearance only fueled its mystique, turning it into one of the great lost Ferraris that fans dreamed of finding again. Decades after fading from the racetrack, whispers of the Breadvan began to resurface. Collectors and historians, obsessed with Ferrari's past, started tracking its trail through private garages and forgotten auctions. When it finally re-emerged, the world was stunned. This oddball machine had survived. Time had left scars, worn paint, tired mechanics, and the marks of hard racing. Yet under the dust was the same rebellious spirit that once defied Enzo Ferrari. Restoration experts took on the challenge, carefully preserving its unique body and reviving its original engineering brilliance. Unlike replicas or imitations, this was the true Breadvan, authentic, raw, and irreplaceable. When it roared back to life, it wasn't just an old car restored, it was history reborn. The outlaw Ferrari that had once embarrassed Maranello was alive again, ready to remind the world why legends never truly vanish. Today, the Ferrari Breadvan is no longer hidden. It's a celebrated star of the classic car world. From the manicured lawns of Pebble Beach to the roaring circuits of Goodwood, it makes appearances that draw crowds as large as any modern supercar. Collectors revere it not just as a rare Ferrari, but as a symbol of defiance, engineering genius, and racing drama. Its quirky silhouette, once ridiculed, is now photographed with awe, and its story is retold at every event it attends. The Breadvan isn't locked away in a museum. It still stretches its legs on the track, reminding spectators of its speed and purpose. What was once a forgotten rebel is now one of the crown jewels of Ferrari history, worth tens of millions but truly priceless in legend. More than a car, the Breadvan has become a living piece of motorsport heritage. The Ferrari Breadvan stands today as proof that rebellion can create greatness. Born from rivalry, built by exiles and mocked for its looks, it became a machine that challenged Ferrari on its own battlefield. Though its racing career was brief, its impact outlived many champions. The Breadvan redefined how aerodynamics could shape performance, inspiring future designs that valued science over style. More than that, it symbolizes courage, the willingness of Count Volpi and Giotto Bizzarrini to defy Enzo Ferrari and carve their own path. Once forgotten and nearly lost, its rediscovery transformed it from oddity to icon, ensuring its place in automotive history. For car lovers, the Breadvan is not just a one-off Ferrari, it's a reminder that legends are not always born in factories. They are forged in rebellion, restored by passion, and kept alive by those who refuse to let them fade.